Let's talk about the team. So Kristina, you have been director of design technology, but now you've taken on knowledge management half-time, something like that. And you've added a learning coordinator. And Laura, you're here as the president, deeply invested in learning and development. So going to take me through but that wasn't the posture of Lionakis maybe even 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. So talk about that kind of investment and why you all are making it and how that connects to kind of long-term strategy.
I'll zoom out on the long term and let Kristina get into the details because this is a lot of her vision. When I came in as chief practice officer 3 years ago, generally I had recognition that our practice wasn't investing in the same way that our business was investing in what it took to scale it, what it took to be one firm but have multiple locations. And because I come from practice and I'm still in practice, recognized an inconsistency across the firm in the different markets and services to what we were putting out into the world. And I will say that one of the areas that we were being consistent and were seeing real buy-in to how we delivered work was in design technology. Because we had the boot camp, we had production standards, we had the things that we needed and that people had grown to rely on. But we hadn't gotten out of the toolkit and into the delivery of what we do as practitioners. And so Kristina and I would say, are good at finishing each other's sentences. So when I was talking to her about this, she started to bring some of the lessons from the LMS group and what she was doing in design technology. And our project delivery group was saying, we got to teach people to do this stuff better, and I think it was a good convergence of a recognized need, as I mentioned, all these things that are happening in the industry, but just really a good time with our growth to be able to say, this is the time we have to make this investment if we're going to maintain the consistency of reputation that's really important to us as a firm.
So can I play that back in just what I think I heard? So by business investing, that means acquisitions, growth, adding markets.
Even our back of house systems.
Even the back of house systems, right.
So everything from our accounting software or our marketing software or things like that, but maybe not as much outside of design technology.
Got it.
On just how do we build practitioners other than the one-on-one apprenticeship model or those ad hoc trainings that we were doing. And was that going to be the most efficient and effective way to build future architects for this firm and for the world? And so I think taking Kristina's lessons learned and the deep dive she's been doing in getting this right with the need that we identified on the practice side just was the right time to make that investment.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah, and I think from a design technology perspective, I kind of laugh because it's just part of my nature and part of my job to make sure everybody knows our best practices when it comes to design technology. And I think through doing that, and like I mentioned earlier, the satisfaction of having things documented. I was doing knowledge management unbeknownst to me for quite a while until I
Which is why she was a natural pick.
Which is the backstory of all the best knowledge managers that I know.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So, and then when I learned about what it was and, went to K Connect and met the knowledge architecture team, it's like such a pivotal moment for me and how I viewed Lionakis. I all of a sudden came back to work after like a K Connect and thought, wow, there's so many moving parts and in ways to grow and in ways that I can connect what I'm doing here in other areas. And design technology also is naturally a support role for a lot of the practice initiatives. Like I sit on our production standards group and our detail library group, project delivery in a way to support what they need and how can we execute a new standard in Revit. And so I would I would sit in a lot of those rooms and hear a lot of those struggles of how to document something, develop a best practice, deliver the message, train the habit of people following it. And it just was like, this sounds very familiar. I know there's a lot of differences. It's not just it's not just technology in a software program, which is a lot easier in many ways. So yeah, a lot of that just carried through. And I think that's where, when Laura became CEO and I was able to work with her more and she offered the opportunity to work more in a knowledge management role, that's where I feel like things really picked up and have started to take shape quickly.
It sounds like, listening to the two of you, all these changes we've been talking about, stuff that's external to Lionakis, but stuff that's internal Lionakis, like growth or offices, you've got different markets. There was the pandemic. There's people's use of social media outside the office, their expectations of what technology can do. You've been consistently redesigning bootcamp to keep up with all those changes. And I think what you're saying, Laura, is the way we did practice was not keeping up with all those changes. And so like you were able to look at Kristina as kind of like, well, that's a way of thinking about doing learning and development that we could take across other parts of our company.
And I will say that, a lot of things when Kristina and I have been talking about my vision for learning and development and how we track it and why doesn't this plug into this in the right way? I'm that kind of person, or a big picture person, and she's in how do we get it done in a way that is effective. And so she has the same vision, but has this kind of toolkit because of what she's been learning and doing to get us there and see the way forward. And I think that's been a good marriage of our skill sets, but also both of our passions, mine for building practice and hers for seeing how we implement and make systematized the things that we're trying to do that are going to make us more effective.